Journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Beauvais on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dreamvisions 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And yes, I'm Deborah Beauvais of the Love by Intuition show. And we are very excited to have back-to-back shows. And if you're just tuning in, this is a live Dreamvision 7 radio broadcast here at 1510 a.m. Revolution, Boston, where we reach 5 whole states in New England where people can just turn the dial in their home or in their car. And it's a beautiful thing. For those that do not have internet, they can hear our glorious shows. So our guest this time is Reverend Dr. Linda D. Coff, who is the founder and head minister of New Thought International, Inc. and the New Thought Institute of New York. As a religious science, international practitioner, and certified ministerial graduate, de Coff received her doctorate of divinity at the United Nations 50th anniversary celebration. She has authored several books, including Divine Prosperity, Secrets to the Kingdom, Living the Miracle Consciousness, and Songs of Eternity, Contemplations, Meditations, and Treatments on the Word of God. In her other life, de Coff made her debut as a noteworthy Broadway, TV, and film actress in leading roles, working alongside the like of Rex Harrison, Christopher Lloyd, and Danny DeVito. So quite a colorful life. For more information about the book we are going to speak of today is Bridge of the Gods, a handbook for ascending humanity, the golden pathway to your highest God self. And I have to say, I am sitting here with goosebumps and just vibrating in love because the book itself is just pure, pure love. And so for anyone that would like to know more about Dr. Linda, you can go on her site, newthoughtinternational.com. And I'll give you out the book one, too, a little later, newthoughtinternational.com. The book is on Amazon. And also, welcome to the show, Dr. Linda.
Thank you very much, Deborah. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much.
Well, it's also deserving because when we first connected, as I've shared with you, I knew we were on the same wavelength, as I would say, with pure love. And the book, I love the way you write, and there's lessons in there, but the way the lessons are, it's all kind of laced through, and you absorb it, and you can create from it you can create what it is you might be holding on to. So, and I have to say right off, one of the sentences I love is, did you know that fear is really faith in what you don't want? Is that powerful or what? Because
yes.
Most human beings live in fear.
Yes, that's true. And, one of the main reason for that fear is that through, many eons of various conditionings that we all go through in our lives, and the impact of the whatever society we come into, whatever time period we happen to come into, we're getting the fear thoughts from very early on as a child, depending upon our whatever our environment might have been. And so there's an absorption process before consciousness, before the individual begins to get on the path of enlightenment, before we get to the place where we have the will to say, hey, maybe this isn't so right or this isn't working, we start investigating and going deeper into the true reality of things. And at that point, we discover that, we begin this process of separation from the unlimited. I say, all who came from heaven, meaning higher consciousness, God, the infinite, which is where we come in from, can return to the same place, meaning in consciousness, in mind. So as one separates, as one becomes more interested in the entire truth of being and starts unifying with that life of wholeness and perfection that we see all around us, God's creation, the divine creation. And we begin to realize that we are one with that. That is the truth of our eternal identity. We can separate in consciousness from the stuff that goes on in everyday life, which it does go on. So people gather their strength again, their courage, and begin to fall in love with love again, really, because love is the highest answer to all, and love equals God, equals all that is life, all that is love, all that is, the many different attributes, courageousness, and so on, are all found in love. So once we begin to heal the place of separation within our own hearts between us and the Creator, God, all of life, all of love, and become more inclusive in our thinking, this is a very, very conscious effort, to monitor oneself and to be willing to realize that you can change your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your body. You are not any of those things. You are in charge. And at every moment you have the choice to respond from this all-inclusive divine nature that is in you because you are one with God and all that is, or you can respond from, the exterior. And you're not in the seat of power when you are responding from the exterior, what goes on out there. And so fear is faith. I say faith is a law. What we believe in this universe, we experience. We bring it into our lives. So it's very, very important to understand that we're always using our capacity of faith. We're always believing in something in our innermost heart. And those strongest, are we believing in what empowers our life and brings us into the allness in a very powerful way and also brings access to that? Or are we believing in what we don't want? Are we placing our faith in what we don't want? So fear is faith in what we don't want.
Which that one sentence, if everyone could get it, is so profound. And if you ask anyone, nobody wants to have faith in what they don't want. But
of course.
They don't feel that, or they don't know that until they reconnect with their inner light and God self and everything else in the higher.
And realizing that, they say there are no victims, there are only volunteers.
Yes.
So everybody is really in charge of their experience. There is no consciousness is the power in one's life. And we've seen it over and over and over again. And even Jesus said, as you believe, it is done unto you. Mm-hmm. A great and awesome metaphysician. He understood all the laws of the universe. And it's been taught throughout time. So are we really hearing what that means? So a belief is not the person. A belief is a habit, and they creep in, from things that happen early on, like something may happen, like you go out in the sun, for instance, and your skin gets burned, and then the information goes into the subconscious saying, never go out in the sun again. Mm. So you see, the subconscious is like an automatic pilot. So when you realize that you're living from the forest, or maybe living, usually it's a signal, you don't have to look far. When things are not going right, there is some belief standing between you and your aspiration. So that's the moment where, on the path to love, highest love and illumination, we begin to stop and we begin to say, we begin to listen to what we're putting into mind, even if it's silently in our own hearts. Our expectations tell us what we're putting out there. And so at that point, we can say, well, that may have been true. I may have gotten burned by the sun once, but that doesn't have to be the truth of my life. And when you correct these things, and it goes into the subconscious and brings a new message out. So raising consciousness is a doorway out, And what is our standard? Our standard is love at the highest. Right. So we know emotionally, if we get into feelings of anger, fear, or any of the feelings that come upon us all, that there's no need to suppress it, but just to notice, I've slipped into this. And the book will tell you how to get back in the state of love. It gives you the techniques as you go through the book. And as you say, Deborah, they're interspersed in there because you get it as you read, you transform as you read. I wanted it to be a living experience where when you put that book down, something has changed in you. It's already happening. Right? So once you see that you want to change something, what people need to know is that the law of mind is very scientific. And literally, if you are putting out, 51 thoughts to the negative and 49 to the positive, the negative is going to beat out. You're going to, because the universe just always says yes. Right. So we say, well, I feel good today. And the universe says, yes, you do. And it demonstrates that in many ways. People smile at you and so on, right? It's an exact mirror to our what we are thinking, what we are holding in mind. Mm. So obviously, since we are cause, there is no outer cause to things. All cause is inner. Then we know that if something is not working for us, like a person who is at a banquet, and the banquet offers you steak, and then it offers you hamburger. Now, maybe you're in the mood for hamburger, but the point is you have choice at every instant. So the more you dwell on the nature of God, the more you're willing to give up your own, one's own stuff, like favorite problems and I can'ts, and this is never going to work, and favorite negativities, and then replace that thought consciously, like a living meditation, right in the middle of it when you catch yourself. Just get still and declare the truth of God about that situation to yourself. It should be like an ongoing process. When you practice this, it's ongoing. Right. And it becomes a way of life too. Once you've done some healing work, as you well know, Reverend Linda, the thing is you become lighter and you become more of the core of who you are, which is love, in everything you do. So
it's easier for the listeners from doing the spiritual journey and still continuing as I am. It does become second nature to you as you go along.
Yes, it does. And at first, nothing is achieved without choice, conscious effort.
Yeah.
So no one is going to come along. God, who loves you, if God were a person, when we say God moves through persons, but no one's going to come along and say and do it for you. In other words, you've got to court the divine presence. You've got to mine the gold, the God self, the divine self that is in you. So how do you do this? Walking the talk practically. So let's say you're in a situation where you're very, very stressed out about a person or you're angry at them. To realize in that moment that I have a choice to respond from the divinity in me, which is love, or to take it out all over the place on everyone. So one is the higher choice. You're either being your divine self or not, which takes practice, because you'll be in a moment and everybody goes off key, and then you have to come back in and center. But if you have made your high goal to be that all-encompassing divine love that God is, that birthed forth this universe, if you have made that your optimum goal, then everything else comes under that, right?
Right, exactly. Now hold that thought, because we do need to take our first break. Okay. Everyone, we're with Reverend Dr. Linda de Coff, who is author of many books, and right now we're speaking on Bridge of the Gods, a handbook for ascending humanity. Don't go away.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition Show, Saturdays 2 to 3 p.m. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be love. Saturday 2 to 3 p.m., all part of the Dreamvisions 7 radio network.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Deborah Beauvais of the Love by Intuition show. This is a live Dream Vision 7 radio broadcast right here at 1510 AM Revolution, Boston. If you're just tuning in, we are with Reverend Dr. Linda de Coff. She's written a number of books, and we are talking about Bridge of the Gods. It's actually a handbook for ascending humanity. And I know myself, it's one of those books that I am going to pick up and read a chapter or two here and there on a regular basis, because it is pure love and light, and you cannot not feel the light that transcends from the book itself, and the words are just beautiful, and it has quite a flow. So, Reverend Dr. Linda, as far as, let's talk about the divine patterns and what those actually mean.
Okay. Well, in order to create any change, and that's what I mean by ascending generation or ascending humanity, doesn't mean leaving the ground. It means ascending in consciousness right here and now. So in order to come out of our limitations, we need to have a vision, a goal before us. What are we aspiring to? And so the highest aspiration that covers every aspiration in life on the material plane is to aspire to know the nature of the universe, and that's what we call metaphysics, how the universe is, the nature of God. And as you look out there, you will see that there are patterns of perfection that run this universe. The planets move in a magnificent order. The sun comes up every morning. there is no helplessness, there is no I can't, there is no incapacity in the divine, in the universal nature. It is actually the entire embodiment of all of love and life, knowing no negative whatsoever. That's so important to understand, because we're surrounded by negativity, which pulls us away from realizing the absolute truth of the universe and therefore our very being. So, when you look at a divine pattern, one way to uncover it is to say, ask yourself, in my situation here, if God or Jesus or whomever you admire and love greatly, we're in this situation, what would they be thinking, knowing, doing? Mm-hmm. And as you dwell on that, it'll come up, it'll rise up from within you, because the truth is in you. And what would they be knowing? They, of course, we would be knowing I can. Or look at Mother Teresa, raising these enormous amounts of money to support in her charitable support. Well, something in Mother Teresa knew that she is one with the source that is unlimited, and therefore whatever she requires exists in perfect right ways. So through her life, she was able to demonstrate that part of the divine pattern. Or Jesus, when wanting to supply, the multitude with bread and with fish, and there was no visible means, he simply gave thanks to the Father, the infinite, the creator, the creative mind, knowing that it existed, it exists, and therefore the supply multiplied around him for the purposes of love. And I cannot stress enough that anything that a person desires for reasons of love, to manifest greater things in life for love and joy, for themselves and for others without harm, there are always resources straight from the infinite available to all. So, and you look at yourself and you say, well, what would be my divine pattern if I were really being the highest and best that I am, my divine nature? What would be my divine pattern regarding body? Let's take, for example, for a person who is ill. There is a divine pattern for body, perfect circulation, perfect harmony, perfect fluidity. All the centers are divine centers, heart, lungs, etc., all work as a tremendous symphony of God, established by God. The body is a perfect manifestation of divine life working in harmony and synthesis. So when you see the divine pattern that has been established, once again, this pattern runs through all of life and belongs to everyone and all things. So you can, in a moment of illness, for instance, what one should do, regardless of how tough it appears, there is nothing that is tough to God. God manifests all that is. So there is no difficulty there. Even at the human level, we feel there's difficulty. So we say, what is? We ask ourselves. We court God. We court the infinite. We ask, what is divine pattern for body? And then we begin to give thanks. As soon as those harmonic, rhythmic, whole, perfect, no negative in it, ideas come, and we know these belong to God, and they are God in action. We begin to give thanks that our very body, wherever the difficulty is now manifesting harmony, wholeness, etc., and that we are being, whatever we need to be to help God help us. In other words, if you're eating, 1,000 cakes a day. Well, unless you're a really risen guru, it's likely to take effect on you.
Sure.
So we always like to help God help us, or help the universe help us, by doing whatever is reasonable right action, we call it, to create the change, right?
Right.
And something in us, we have conscience because God is in us and is in the seat of our heart, of every heart. So we say, an animal does not have the power to say, a dog can't say, gee, I barked too loud at my friend dog over there. I need to change something, They're on automatic. So, but the human being possesses the capacity to realize unity with the divine nature, which is the message of so many great saints, avatars, and great spiritual leaders throughout time. So we want to cultivate, what is the divine pattern for emotions would be flow, love, peace, courage, all the top emotions, that express a total I can, a total oneness. And so when the violin gets out of tune, we stop and say, gee, I'm out of touch here. What's missing? Maybe I'm putting my faith, somewhere where I shouldn't be putting it. Maybe I'm, angry at depending on a person, place, or thing too much, and they're, letting me down, so I'm angry at them. So let me release and let me get back into my center. And what is the divine pattern in such a situation? What would God, Jesus, whoever you love and admire, and aspire to be like, what would they be knowing? And as you cultivate this, you raise literally your own emotional body. You raise your thoughts to eliminate your thinking, because thoughts produce feelings. And then thoughts and feelings go together and produce your body, either physical body of circumstances, events in your life. So if you want to change, don't go at the event, don't go at the person, place, thing out there. Go within and see where you perhaps are not radically relying on the divine, perhaps not putting God in you in the seat of power, right?
Right.
So it takes the desire, but usually that it's when people have a crisis, when things have just gone so far out there, that they have a choice to either just fold completely or change at that moment. So there's great power in crisis situations, and it can be a great catalyst to get to another level. But why wait? If you love life, you love God, and you realize the infinite horizons that lay before you, life is far more than meets the eye. Life is an opportunity to express those great attributes, to develop them, to strengthen them. And when we are prodded by situations which really are just messengers for us, that there's an opportunity to get a higher consciousness about this, we do it. So the divine patterns are the standard, and we should learn to think about this because it's so deeply personal to each person, but it is impersonal in that it just is. It's like the law of mind is impersonal. And, it responds to everyone equally. It doesn't care about your resume. It doesn't care who you are. It only responds to what you put out there into the universe. So, for instance, a beggar can love a rose, can look at a rose or, plant a rose, and can say, oh, I'm just so excited, and I can't wait to see how beautiful that rose will be, and water it and take care of it. And don't you know that beggar will produce the most beautiful rose, whereas a person of load of credits and wealth and this and that, can plant the same seed, and the seed can die immediately under the weight of their negativity.
Right.
So make no mistake that it's not your history. It's not one's history that, runs them. It's the contents of the mind and heart that produces the life. And what better an aspiration to, let's say you want to sell your home, but everyone says, well, the market is bad. You'll never be able to do that. That's the outer.
Right.
But in God, is there any lack? So, no, there isn't. And there are perfect circumstances for every human issue. So the person who keeps saying, well, that's what they say, but I know there will be a perfect right buyer and all things will work well, perfect right price, and so on, that person is thinking in terms of the unlimited of God, of love, being the ruler of this universe, and is embodying that and thinking that way in the midst of, right when you seem to have the issue, is turning and declaring that the presence, in essence, is here,
Right.
And so they're the ones that find a great home when there's none, that, sell their place to a person just adores it, and manifest a harmony in their external deals, So it's very, very important to realize that when you aspire higher spiritually, you do not lose anything. People fear it. Oh, well, that must mean, that I have to suffer this or that. Oh, no. It's exactly the opposite. But the way of attainment is different. The way of attainment is love, truth, principle, and this book will help you to realize a lot, and it will give you tools, ways to access those divine patterns, even little questions you could ask yourself to stimulate the right response.
Right, and that's what I love. Well, we need to take our next break, Dr. Linda. So for everyone out there, we're talking about Bridge of the Gods, a handbook for ascending humanity, the golden pathway to your highest God self. And when we come back, I'd like to delve into a little more about how the average human being may think separate from God, that here they are, and God is over there somewhere, or up there, or heaven's over there somewhere. And I'd also like to talk with you on how you evolved from being an actress to being a teacher of such high enlightenment. So we'll be back, everyone. Don't go away.
This is Dreamvisions 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Deborah Beauvais of the Love by Intuition show. So, Dr. Linda, I would love to talk a little more about separateness, because many people, even when they're on their spiritual journey, they'll think of God as being separate, or they may go to church, which is fine, and then come home and not be living their truth or coming from a place of love in everything they do. So you talk so much about that in the book, that we are God within. We have that power. So please share a bit about that.
Yes. We want to get away from looking outside ourselves. When the church is beautiful, all churches in their purity are in beautiful structures.
Absolutely.
And meeting places where persons can bring, their heartfelt spiritual self for nurturing. And according to the level of the pastor, the priest, the minister, whoever may be delivering truth and inspiration to the people, they will, they will prosper, meaning in the food of thought that's given to them that assists them to make changes. But the whole purpose of it is to bring this into your life. When a minister, a representative of God, encourages you to be love, that is the entire universal message, to be love instead of be hate, and to bring it, that is the message. It's for you to take that and literally live it in your life every moment, most particularly where you don't want to, where you're holding on for dear life. And that's where God enters your everyday affairs. So in taking truth under ourselves, realize that God is in the center of our being. It is not, God is not afar off, separate apart. We would not even be breathing if that were so. Every breath we draw is from the infinite. Every breath. So there is no real truth to the thought of separation. That's a delusion. No one is separated from the creative, from the Creator, from the universe, from their fellow beings, from anyone at all, from God's rainbow of, the many different religions and traditions that serve people in different cultures and climates and so on. So
just your term of God's rainbow, that touches the soul. It really does, Linda.
Yeah, well, it is a rainbow, isn't it? The entire manifestation is God.
Yeah.
So when in our practical everyday lives we see someone else as other or not of God, it's a total delusion. And, so in our minds and our souls, our hearts, we should move to the greater inclusiveness to realize that all in the world family are our brothers and sisters, and to pray for them and their conditions and situations as we would pray for the people that we love the most in our most personal life. And what you will be doing is bringing divine energy to the entire universe, that energy of wholeness. God's mirror is correct. So it's up to the people to put that beautiful prism back together again so that it operates, at full function. Like, how it is when you do finally get something and you bring it into a state of harmony and success, how everything goes so well. So if we remember that we want to practice our unity, recognize God is in us, all surrounding all that is, and aspire to bring these higher qualities into our life and walk the talk, do the work, which I do give many tools, one of which, I'd just like to say, is that, information without acting on it is just, nothing. It remains undeveloped, right? It's just not. So I'm very big on bringing in practical ways. Well, one of the ways, of course, is self-observation, which we've talked about, but another is meditation. So the readers will find that when they finish a chapter, there will always be either some type of very easy exercise that they can internalize and make a change with, or there will be a very soaring meditation where as you read that meditation, literally, you have the experience of moving to another place. So you have many, many opportunities to ground and make practical and bring in throughout the book. There's also stories, fabulous stories, very transcendent stories, fun stories, and the reader is going to hear about other people too, who have maybe had similar situations to them, and they made an adjustment, which you've been talking about, and suddenly their world has started flowing, because like a chiropractic adjustment, they've come into alignment with the great all in the all with God, with the universal harmony, and their life has, burst forth. So that's my reason for writing this book. And I know you wanted to ask me a little bit about my transition.
Yes, and we only have 3 minutes left.
3 minutes. Well, very quickly, I want to do a shout-out to Boston and to my family, who I know is listening, up in Wenham, Massachusetts, and to the entire Boston area, to say that and New Hampshire, Maine, and our beautiful Northeast, to say that I'm just so happy to have, been raised in there, and to have been surrounded by such wonderful consciousness. Emerson, our great poets, Thoreau, Quimby, who discovered, that mind, a doctor who discovered if he could change a person's thought about something, they could get well.
Right.
And Ernest Holmes up in Maine, a great teacher of mind and consciousness all of the Northeast. But anyway, I have always been interested in healing, let me say, and I loved doing all the roles that I did and all the great things. My adjunct course at Boston University, aside from BFA in theater at that time, Bachelor of Fine Arts, was on metaphysics. It was like the other course I took. So as I got such great joy and satisfaction in my acting career in Broadway and so on, I then needed to go further, to go into the other side of me that's interested in metaphysics research. And out of that, and some very, very great teachers came what I do now, which is my delight, serving other people. Serving other people.
Yes, and I love that, and I love the book, and we'll have to have you back, Dr. Linda. So everyone out there, do get the book, Bridge of the Gods, a handbook for ascended humanity by Reverend Dr. Linda D. Coff.
You can also order it from your local bookstore.
Yes, so I just love it. Everyone out there, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Dr. Linda, for joining me today, and we'll see you next week. Au revoir.
Au revoir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Deborah.
We'll talk soon.
Okay.